in Uganda. When we landed, it was also cool. I looked at the odd trees and thought, man, this is weird, I am in Africa. Our schedule was for Dr. K to walk upstairs and say, "Good morning, time to get up." I tried not to hate him for this because he is so cool, but it was 6 in the morning. We usually didn't get to sleep till 11 or 12 after going hard all day. It seemed as soon as I went to sleep he was saying in a kind, authoritative voice, "Good morning, get up." I didn't sleep that well sometimes, but it was cool knowing that we were, as it seemed, in God's country. Some kind of different dimension where Jesus was more real and it's all we thought about and worked about. Usually Dr. Krabendam would preach for the first half of the day, and then we would go out for the second to tell people about Jesus, trying to remember what was said in the teaching. It was really good. A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss. Teaching. I met the most amazing person when we went out to witness. We were teamed up with local Christians to evangelize with us and to interpret for us, as some people spoke another language. His name was Nick. He was just a really cool guy. Very loving and respectful and deferent to me and what I wanted to communicate. He would know how to navigate the neighborhoods. Although I questioned if I was saved, I knew a lot about Jesus and the Bible, and I was genuine. Jesus is the answer. It was absolutely amazing to feel like God is speaking through you even if you don't know exactly what you're doing. You know you are making a difference just by trying to glorify Jesus and save people. I had a sense of how great Jesus was and how much people needed him, and to look into him and the Bible. I loved witnessing. At a certain point in the 1-month trip, I felt like God made me just specifically for witnessing. I felt more like me and like I was created to be. I thought God made me for this. I wondered if I was supposed to stay in Africa or return. A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss. Someday or what? People are definitely more open to Jesus in Uganda than America. They will listen. One day as Nick and I were going along, we came across a guy that seemed angry and rough. I asked if he wanted to hear about Jesus, Nick interpreted, and the guy said no and began to ignore us doing other things. I told Nick to tell him I don't even know if I was saved. It was hilarious what followed. "You should have seen Nick's face." He said he wouldn't tell the guy that. We argued back and forth for what seemed like 10 minutes. Finally I wore him down and Nick told him. I said, "I don't even know if I'm saved, but I know that Jesus loves you and wants to save you from sin and hell." It shocked Nick and I when the guy asked to be saved. He seemed changed and softer and in need of Jesus. We went over and I began to pray with him, repeating after me. Since I wasn't even sure what one had to do to be saved, I wanted my prayer to be the best prayer ever to make sure he was really saved. Again, it seemed like I prayed for 10 minutes. I don't know what happened to him, I told. A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss. Him to keep seeking Jesus, but I will always remember him. Throughout the trip I struggled with my own salvation and wondered what it even meant. Jesus is God, he died and rose. I am supposed to believe. How do I believe? What does believing even mean? I believe the Bible. What is believing in Jesus? There was something there I just couldn't get. I would talk to Dr. K and he would try to help, and would help, but I was still stuck. I would talk with everyone on the trip who seemed to know. I actually started doing that at Covenant. I would go from person to person trying to get saved or figure it out. One thing that I kept hearing from people was that there are no magical words to say. Some people would say, "Go pray all night until you're saved." And I tried that 3 or 4 times. I went to my car, got in the front seat, put my knees on the floor facing the seat and would try to. A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss. Meet God and pray. I was just hoping for something to happen. I needed Jesus. I needed his love and acceptance. I needed a friend. I remember one night in the car praying, "Jesus save me," over and over again for about a half hour. After that I went in and out of sleep and praying. It seemed like it went nowhere, and now I was exhausted with chapel and classes starting soon. I went into chapel to hear the song, "Leaning on the Everlasting Arms." I started to cry. Maybe God did see me in the car trying to get saved, and he loved me. So anyways, While in Uganda, I talked to many people about salvation and how to get it. Another answer seemed to come up a bit. Talk to God and not people about it. I think part of the reason I constantly asked about salvation was loneliness, wanting a friend and to feel connected as well as get saved. One night I was really struggling with this and talked to a guy that said I should fast and pray and make sure I got saved. A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss. Soon or I might go to hell. I know it sounds weird, but when I looked into his eyes they seemed like Jesus was telling me this with authority. So I determined to try and not eat until I was saved. It was really hard. I felt horrible from not eating, especially when we went to a certain house that had a practical feast for us about 5 or 6 days into not eating. They all seemed so happy and content and enjoying one another and eating. And I was outside trying to keep my resolve. I kept thinking, do I want to eat one good meal and then go to hell, or should I fight as hard as I can to escape certain death, judgment, and flames? I was really scared. I also began to think of my mother. We seemed alike. We did the right things. We did the Christian things. We loved Jesus. But it seemed like we were both lost. And if I didn't get saved, I would be pushing my loving mom, possibly the person I care most about, right into hell. I could eat. Is a meal worth my mommy's life? I was so hungry and couldn't take it, but managed, by talking to someone outside the house about A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss. Salvation. I was very urgent because I thought I would go insane with hunger and didn't want me and my mom going to hell, but she seemed calm and like it was a simple matter. After another day or two, Dr. K said I had to eat, like a command. I took this as God telling me to eat because I trusted Dr. K. Plus, I figured I would die before finding salvation. I was so happy to eat that meal. It could have been feces, and I would have loved it. Actually, the funny thing was that that was one of the worst meals I ever remember eating. It was some weird junk I didn't know what it was, and it tasted horrible, but I gladly ate and looked very much forward to every meal after that, forever. Soon after I went outside Dr. K's house to a half-built house 50 yards away to pray for salvation. This time it was my dad I thought about. My dad loved me so much and would do anything to protect me, but he couldn't save me from Jesus' wrath. And I was scared for my dad's salvation also. I missed him so much right then. I wanted him, A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss, to hug me and tell me everything was going to be okay and protect me. I spent a few hours praying, crying, and stressing out, as well as missing my dad. I spent one night, up all night, praying and reading the Bible. I read a lot of the Bible, but where I turned it seemed I had never heard before. It was in Isaiah, Jeremiah, and Ezekiel. Everywhere I turned in those books it seemed like God was saying yet again, "You rebelled, and I am going to kill you. I will torture you, and you will go to hell." That made me even more troubled, knowing the Bible said that. Then, after asking Dr. K for someone to pray all night with, he sent me with a local pastor to the pastor's house. He prayed with me for a bit, then went to bed. I was in agony about not being saved and felt completely lost and alone. I fought sleep for the sake of my soul, and also I couldn't sleep because I was so upset. I finally fell asleep and had one of the worst nightmares ever. Shortly after falling asleep, I had a dream. Myself, my sister, and a close friend from Covenant were in a spaceship. The spaceship was A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss, about to launch. The problem was I knew, absolutely knew, that it would blow up. It was a matter of minutes before we would all be dead. The only problem was I couldn't seem to speak. My friend was telling jokes that were very funny, and my sister was laughing hysterically. They both thought that everything was fine or didn't care. I can't remember if I couldn't speak or they wouldn't listen. I think it was that I just couldn't move or figure out a way to get out. I got more and more scared. And they continued joking. I couldn't speak to warn them, and I couldn't move or figure a way out. We were doomed. They were clueless. My friend was telling jokes when we were about to die. What an idiot. Seemingly blatantly ignoring our destruction. My sister seemed like she might have been slightly scared but had no clue, and was rather interested in laughing. I knew and could do nothing. What scared me the most was that my sister didn't know. I had to tell her. I had to save her. I know we are in trouble. I know we are in trouble. That has to mean something. They don't. A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss. Have a clue, but I know. But I was doomed just like they were. My mouth, mind and body wouldn't work. I couldn't get out or save them. I just kept thinking. With all my knowledge, I couldn't save myself. But worse, I was letting my sister die, right in front of me when I could have done something. It was one of the worst feelings ever. I can't save my sister. I woke up right after the dream. I was probably asleep long enough to have the dream and wake up. Now I was really panicking. All three of us were going to hell. I could have done something but didn't or couldn't. I prayed and literally yelled to God to save me and especially my sister for a long time. The pastor woke up at some point eventually and took me to his vacant church and left. I went in a back room and cried and screamed and begged God to save me and my sister. God, let me get saved so I can save her and warn her, please. I yelled and prayed for hours. Even after people began going in and out of the church, I still screamed and yelled. A True Christian by Joseph Zeiss. Finally I was desperate and thought someone at the church could help. I went out crying to this older lady and told her the story. She helped a good deal and then read to me from Isaiah. She said that it was God talking to me. It may have been around Isaiah 49:6 about God using me to save Israel and the Gentiles, but I remember it was definitely about God raising me up and using me a lot. I was really encouraged, until I asked her if she told other people the same thing. She said yes. Then I was kind of mad at her. This could have nothing to do with me. But I still thought it might be true. Looking back on it now, I do think it was of Jesus, and I think and hope he has and will raise me up and use me greatly for his glory, and so others, tormented with salvation or not, may finally be safe, saved, fully loved, and have Jesus living in them and through them 24/7 with power. Leaving covenant. I went to Uganda the summer after my second year at